Hello, I'm Chaeyeon. Today I'm going to talk about our paper Understanding Human Side Impact of Sampling Image Batches in Subjective Attribute Labeling. As the image-based deep learning applications has been widely studied, image batch labeling has also been actively explored in the HCI community. Batch labeling presents multiple unlabeled data at once, as you can see in the figure. This enables annotators to label more images with fewer interaction steps. In the figure, we have no glasses and glasses for the labels, which seems very obvious and objective. Judging the existence of glasses in the given images is straightforward and it has undeniable ground truth. Most of the previous studies focused on improving the labeling quality regarding such obvious and objective annotations. How about this case? Introverted and extroverted. This seems more difficult to judge since the labels are quite subtle and subjective. It is impossible to have explicit ground truth in this case. We found that image labeling with these kinds of subjective labels has been underexplored. Therefore, we came up to the question, how can we annotate consistently and efficiently with subjective labels using batch labeling? This is the main task in our work. Now we have our two research questions. First, during image batch labeling, can human annotators perceive different levels of cognitive load under different sampling strategies? Second, do different sampling strategies impact human annotation performance in image batch labeling? In forming diverse sampling strategies, we use the active learning, which is widely used in data labeling. Once an annotator labels data samples, a classifier is trained with the annotated data and outputs the certainty scores of the unlabeled data. Then, the next batch of data samples are given to the annotators based on the prediction of classifier. At this step, active learning can be divided into two folds. First, uncertainty-based displays the least confident data samples of the classifier. This strategy is most widely used in active learning. Second, certainty-based queries the most confident data samples of the classifier. Now, let me talk about how we conducted the user study. The task of the user study was to label whether a person in an image looks introverted or extroverted under three different sampling strategies. In UL, we form each batch with the most uncertain data items and CL with the most certain items. We included random sampling as our baseline. For the dataset, we used the FFHQ dataset, which consists of 70,000 high-resolution human faces. We recruited 18 participants from a local university. This is our labeling system we used for the user study. We have batch labeling view, which enables annotators to click each image to label. And the 2D embedding view helps annotators track their progress and labeling outcomes so far. Top attributes view helps annotators to see the top 5 attributes that frequently appeared in the previously labeled images. Now we have the overall procedure of our study. First, a participant annotates the given batch of data items. Then, the labeled data items and its labels are given as input to train our classifier. Here, we use the SVM classifier. Then, the trained classifier predicts the uncertainty or certainty scores of the unlabeled data. Here, there are three different sampling strategies, UL, CL, and random, as previously mentioned. A certain number of images are retrieved according to each sampling strategy. Finally, the retrieved images are presented in the next batch. We conducted our study for 2 days. On day 1, we collected gold standard since the subjective labeling does not have ground truth. Labelers used a simple labeling tool as shown in the figure A on day 1. Then on day 2, we asked the participants to label under 3 different sampling strategies using our labeling system. We divided our dataset into 3 groups and used the Latin square design to counterbalance the order of conditions. As mentioned before, we have 2 research questions. So we performed analysis in 2 folds. For the first question, we conducted attitudinal analysis. To be more specific, we tried to measure the perceived cognitive load of participants. And for the second question, we conducted the behavioral analysis. First, for the test effectiveness, we measure the intrapersonal reliability, which measures the labeling consistency within a person, and interpersonal reliability, which measures the labeling consistency within a group of people. For the task efficiency, we measure time spent per batch and the number of clicks per batch, which indicates the labor intensity. This slide summarizes the results of the study. We found that each sampling strategy is adequate for different labeling circumstances. To be more specific, CL achieves the highest intrapersonal reliability and the lowest perceived cognitive load. Therefore, CL is adequate for labeling which requires high accuracy and cognitive load such as pixel-level image annotation. We also found that surprisingly, UL achieves the most efficient labeling. Therefore, UL could be used for labeling which requires high efficiency, such as labeling massive and large amount of data samples. Now, let's look at each result a little more closer. First, according to the attitudinal analysis, where we measured the perceived cognitive load, CL requires the lowest perceived cognitive load. During the study, the participants were asked to rank each condition. For the behavioral analysis, we measured task effectiveness, which implies labeling consistency. We found that CL achieves the highest intrapersonal reliability. Meanwhile, we could not find statistically significant difference in the interpersonal reliability. However, it has a positive correlation with the overturn ratio. In other words, if an image was hard to decide whether it was introverted or extroverted, it was also controversial among other people. In case of task efficiency, UL achieved the highest task efficiency. Labelers showed the shortest task completion time and minimal number of clicks when they were under UL. We also conducted per batch analysis, which shows the trend of average time and number of clicks in each batch. As you can see in the red boxes in the graph, we found that the major difference lies in the first 20 batches. The figure in the red box also shows its noticeable difference among the 3 conditions compared to the figure on the right. We also conducted analysis regarding the degree of polarization, DOP in short. The DOP means the level of disagreement in labeling. We have some example images here presented based on its DOP. We came to the question, are images with controversial opinions more difficult or inefficient to label? We found that there exists a positive correlation between DOP and the intrapersonal reliability. Also, there exists a negative correlation between DOP and the interpersonal reliability. That is, each participant labeled less controversial images more consistently. Also, labeling such images leads to high consistency within a group. And here we have our limitations and future work. This is the end of the presentation. For more information, feel free to contact us, and we hope our work inspires future researchers who try to explore the subjective labeling. Thank you for listening.